Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Warframe. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and salutations. Today, Destiframe.
Welcome, friend.
Let's get to it. So Warframe and Destiny have been out about the same amount of time as each other. So what exactly does that mean in terms of what it has to offer, and how is it like or not like Destiny? Now, even if you've never played Warframe or Destiny, we're going to go over kind of like how to get started, what to look for, things like that. So we're going to start off and talk about similarities and how things look different. Alright, so first of all, if you have different frames, you can think of frames as being subclasses in terms of Destiny. Each frame is a little bit different from other frames, some quite a bit different. But if you want something like a Titan bubble, you got that. If you want to be a big tanky Titan, we got that. So in terms of what Warframe has to offer, it's very similar. There are abilities, 4 abilities per Warframe, and each one unlocks at a different point. And I would say the 4th ability is similar to, say, a super, but it isn't as super as or over the top as, say, something in Destiny. So when you're looking at supers in Destiny and the 4th ability in Warframe, they're not really comparable. Destiny supers tend to be
that? It said
a little bit more, I would say, over the top and really powerful. The 4th ability on Warframe is a little bit more in line. It is the strongest ability in most cases, but not necessarily super. Alright. Now, each Warframe has a different set of abilities, but they all share similarities. So you're talking about armor, which is how much damage is reduced before it goes further and you take damage. So if an enemy does 100 damage to you, but you have 50 armor, then that will reduce the damage by 50, so then you take 50 damage instead of 100, just as an example. Then you have energy, and energy is used to use abilities. So instead of having a cooldown for your abilities, you have energy, and you can use those abilities over and over as long as you have the energy to sustain them. Some abilities, they have a drain, so they require constant energy as long as it's active. Other ones are one-time use. You use them, and then they go away. They use a set amount of energy. And then you have health and shields. Shields will automatically recharge. Health is more or less permanent. It will continue to go down. Sprint speed is how fast you walk and run. And then the duration, efficiency, range, and strength, those all refer to your abilities. So at 100%, that is the baseline, and then you can put different things on your Warframe to affect that. Now, much like Destiny, you have 3 different weapons that you can have. In Destiny, you have a kinetic slot, an energy slot, and a power slot. In Warframe, you have a primary slot, a secondary slot, and then a melee weapon. So your primary slot is all about those weapons like grenade launchers, sniper rifles, shotguns, linear fusion rifles, snipers, bows, pulse rifles, auto rifles, submachine guns, lasers, trace rifles, etc., 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 including things like flamethrowers. Your secondary slot are your pistols, but also like throwing knives, things like that. There's also, your sawed-off shotguns, your lasers, but they tend to be a little bit less powerful, I would say. Not necessarily less powerful, but they tend to have a smaller amount of ammo for them in a magazine. And you can have 2 weapons at a time, which are similar to the single one, but they tend to have a longer reload and they aren't as accurate. Alright, and then melee weapons, you're talking about your swords, broadswords, katanas, bows, scepters, hammers, whips, daggers, cleavers, axes, brass knuckles, etc., etc. So any melee type weapon, what you would maybe think of as a melee weapon. Sword and shield, claws, so all kinds of different stuff.
Operator, you have remembered well how the Tenno arm themselves.
Now, one of the big differences is that a lot of things you have to make yourself, but we also have things that you can use as buffs, I would say. So if you're running out of ammo, you can have one of these ammo restorers, and over time you'll get ammo back. So kind of like a heavy ammo synthesis or special ammo synthesis, except this is for all weapons, but each weapon gets a certain amount. So sniper rifles are going to get a little bit less than, say, a rifle. There's also things for shields, for energy, and for health. So you can bring those in on any of the activities, and it's not that big of a deal. Having said so, of course, there are enemies that will take those things away from you. Obviously, any enemy will take down your shield and health just by shooting at you, but there are other ones that are, poisonous, that will drop your health just by being around them. There are ones that'll leech energy off of you just by being close to them. Alright, so what else do we have in terms of Warframe and Destiny? There is a season ranking, so to speak, and that is the Nightwave Intermission.
Shall we?
Now, instead of having seasonal ranks that you get just by doing anything Nightwave, you do very specific tasks in order to get credit or experience towards the next level, and there are at least currently 30 levels. So there are both weekly and elite weeklies. So you have weekly like get 6 different perfect animal captures in Orb Valis. Kill or capture an Eidolon Hydralist. Kill the Profit Taker. And then you also have dailies like mark 5 mods or resources. And then as you go up in levels, you get different rewards as a result. And we'll go over some of these as we go along.
You know it.
So in addition to the season rank, there's also a bounty system. Bounties work a little bit differently in Warframe than in Destiny. So we have these alerts, which are very bounty-esque, and what you'll do is you'll do a specific mission, a specific activity, and then you get a specific reward. There are also other bounties that you get from a very specific area, Cetus or Fortuna on Earth and Venus, and those have a loot table, and the loot table you can see exactly what you can possibly get off of it, so you always know going into it either what you can get or what you're going to get. One of the differences, loading screens, they already started. Just a little bit. So bounties work very differently. Instead of being active for a certain amount of time, which these are too, they're only available for a certain amount of time, but instead of getting, say, planetary resources, you're going to get a specific, like this one is going to give you a Forma, or if you go to those 2 places I mentioned before, those will get you some things as well. You'll notice on the left-hand side, I've got this little guy floating next to me, and that is my companion. So unlike Destiny, you get a guy that can follow you around and will help you do certain things depending on what you want to do. So there's different companions for different things. Ooh, he's coming right at me.
Additional life support has arrived.
Now, movement is a lot different in Warframe than it is in Destiny. That is a big difference. You don't have sparrows or anything like that in Warframe where you get extra movement. Instead, you are the extra movement. So Warframe has what they call bullet jumping. And that'll get you across areas much faster and quickly versus, having to run. And there is running in Warframe. It's just not as quick. There are status effects. In Warframe, there's cold and hot, blast, and all these things do different things. And they can apply to you, and they can apply to enemies as well. There's radiation, there's gas, there's viral, there's lot of different statuses. So let's bullet jump here a little bit just so you can see. What I'm talking about in terms of being able to get around quickly. And yes, you will take out damage if they hit you while you're doing that. Now it will be more difficult for them to do that. Obviously, it's harder to hit someone that's flying around, but depending on what type of damage that they're doing, it may be easier or more difficult.
For a capsule.
I'm guessing someone... When you're on the ships, you can crack a window open, and the window will it'll cause explosive decompression, and you have to reset it in order to well, stop from dying. Because as long as you're in the same area that has that decompression, you will lose shields and health. 5 minutes left.
Keep you going for a while. Life support has been replenished.
I've got an ability on my companion that helps me see loot within a certain radius. So on the mini-map you'll see little boxes or whatever. Now these red containers are explosive, so if you shoot them, they blow up. I was within range, but I didn't take as much damage if I was right next to it. And then there's little Easter eggs like this.
Life support on the way.
Which you can scan to get things, and it's just an Easter egg. It's not something that you have to do. So the frame I'm using is Hydroid. I kind of think of him as kind of like the Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean kind of figure.
Support capsule
he has
is
a lot
now
of like
available.
water-based abilities. Okay, so he can like turn into a puddle, and any enemies that walk on the puddle get sucked in and lose health, just like that. So that's kind of fun, and it also makes you immune. But his big ability centers around being able to summon tentacles. So when you slam, you have a chance of summoning these tentacles, and then you have an ability that summons a whole bunch of them. And that is your fourth ability, which I've talked about being similar to a super. 3 minutes left, and then we'll get our reward from this bounty.
Life's incoming.
Boy, and I do like this flamethrower. Let me put up the fourth ability. Well, I want to put it up someplace where there's some enemies. I don't know where all the enemies are at. They're usually swarming you. Apparently, oh, here we go.
Additional life support has arrived.
It's kind of fun just because the guy has these tentacles that come out, and if any of the enemies touch the tentacles, they get like sucked onto it. Alright, down to a minute 45
Life
before we
support
finish this.
activated.
Survival, of course, you're trying to survive. Enemies are trying to kill you, and you're losing life support over time. You get these portable life support deals here that give you 30. And then you
Life support
have,
activated.
if you saw that guy go down there, that was not me doing anything, that was my companion taking him out. Most
Prepare for life
Most
support.
companions have some sort of offense, defense that they can use. This one has a shotgun that they use. So short range, but very damaging. So life support goes down. If it gets down to 0, then you start losing shield and health until you only have 5 left, and then
I've
you die.
delivered
So you
another
don't want that to
support
happen,
capsule.
obviously. And it gets more difficult the longer that you have to stay alive. So for this one, you only have to be here for 10 minutes. It sounds like a lot, but
Life
it
support
actually
has
isn't.
been finished.
It's actually relatively quick. And it's over basically before you know
That
it.
should keep you going
So
for
this
a while.
one is basically done. Once we finish here, we'll get a marker for the exit.
When you are ready, go to extraction.
That's a good way to
Brutus
grind
has
for
just
credits.
made their first discovery. Keep
So
up the
there's
good
2
work.
types of currency. I got a boost from someone. I had to have been in range of their boost. Alright, get out of here.
Get ready for a capsule.
Oh, there we go. Alright. Rewards. Oh, that's what we want to see. 38,000 credits. Forma, which we knew we were going to get when we started it. And then everything else that we picked up as we went along. And then stats. Pickups. That's how many things we picked up, including health, ammo, things like that. Damage that each person did as a percentage. How much damage you took. Total number of kills, headshots, etc. So if you're playing with your friends, and up to 4 people in a mission. They used to have raids, which was an 8-player activity, but because there wasn't matchmaking, it did make it a little bit more difficult. All right, so we'll go over and take a look at the other bounties. We won't do one, but we'll take a look. So bounties work a lot differently in the Warframe universe than in Destiny. Destiny, of course, now bounties are the main way of getting anywhere in terms of experience and season rank. Here, it's a way of getting specific rewards. Oh, I should mention this. Activities and areas in almost all of Warframe is procedural, and what I mean by that is when you go to one of these areas, the activities, etc., they're going to look a little bit different every time because they have a set number of rooms, and the rooms have however many exits, and then as you go along, it will have a specific theme based on where you're at. So Earth will have a certain look to it, Venus will have a certain look to it, Saturn, etc. They look, they are thematically the same for the area. However, even though you go to one of these areas, and I'll pick a couple. So bounties here.
Snack, yeah?
They have a level range, so you know about how difficult they are, and then of course the loot table. So if you're looking for Cetus Wisp, then you know that you have a chance of getting it. and the chance of getting something is based on the rarity or commonality of it. So you have common, uncommon, rare, bronze, silver, gold. Common, of course, is the most likely one that you're going to get. Uncommon, less likely, and rare is something that is difficult to get. I don't think I have one of these. Nope, I sure don't. So there you go. Let's see. Someone had put out percentages. In common is something like 40%, and then 30% and 10%. No, that can't be it. 50, 40, and 10. But then these have like multiple steps to them. These particular ones have multiple steps to them. So it'd be like step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. All the way to step 3 or 4 or 5. And as you go along each progressive step, you have a higher chance of getting the rarer drops.
Picky. You come back again soon. Job board.
Alright, so as I was saying, procedural levels are going to be thematically the same for the planet or area that you're on. So you're not going to have mix and match planets that, you know, you're in a watery area in one room and then the next room you're going to be in a desert, let's say. So, but when you go to, say, Unda, that will be thematically the same, but the setup will always be different. So they don't have set areas for these different nodes. However, that is not the case with Fortuna and Orb Vallis on Venus. These are... Fortuna is a social area, and then Orb Vallis is a free roam area. Very large, and is always the same. Same thing with Cetus and the plains of Eidolon. Alright, so what do you do when you start? You start off, you have a short tutorial. Learn how to use your abilities, learn how to use your weapons, and then you're basically on your own. As you go along, you will go through and unlock these different nodes. And when you want to get to another planet, there will be requirements or prerequisites. So the Mars Junction will say, complete quest once awake. Defeat 150 Frontier Grineer on Earth. Collect 500 Rubido in missions, and that's a resource. Complete Susi on Mercury. So of course you'll need to clear a path to Venus and then Mercury before you can go to Mars. So say the Venus Junction. Probably the first one that you're going to do.
Everything in orders,
Complete
operator?
quest
Is
for
that a
prize,
pun?
collect 20 mods.
I will
Mods,
attempt to bypass this fault.
much like Destiny, can be put on weapons and armor. And, or I should say Warframe, and weapons. And mods are, they have rarity, they do not have any type of elemental affinity, but they do have polarity, and we'll talk about that in just a second. So you get to these different junctions, you have to beat a little, boss, mini boss, and then you can go to another planet, and you're gonna keep on doing that, opening up these different areas and moving on and going to different areas and doing that and coming back and doing more. And as you do that, you will gain access to more quests. Now, quests can be accessed from your desk over here, or the codex. Very first page is all quests. And because mine are completed, they are right off the bat not going to be as useful. But you look at the quest and it'll tell you not all of the quests here are going to be or show on your codex. You'll have to do certain prerequisites before they show up. Or if they are there, you may not have access to them. They may say, you have to complete this before you do that. And it might be a junction, or it might be another quest. But once you start it, then you'll have something on your navigation that says what you need to do, or it'll give you a hint. So it's not always straightforward. Alright, now, there are engrams in Warframe, and these engrams are called relics. Now, unlike the Destiny universe, relics do not automatically open when you get them, or when you don't bring them to someone in order to open them. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to pick them up from certain activities as a loot drop, and then you will need to open them yourself. Now you see there's a whole bunch of different relics or engrams on this list. Different ones come from different areas, and they have a certain chance or percentage chance of dropping. But all these, what they will tell you is the first word tells you how difficult it is. So we have lith relics, which are the easiest to open. And when I mean easiest, I mean the activity associated with that relic is at a lower level than the other ones. And then we have the meso relics, and then we have the neo relics, and then the most difficult ones to open and probably to obtain are axi relics. Now we can look at any of these, and again we have this rarity associated with it: common, uncommon, and rare, and that will tell you how likely you are to get each piece. Now, in addition, now this bar underneath here kind of tells you like your chance comparatively of getting each level. So you have the bronze or the common, 3 items here, much more likely to get that than the silver, which has a very small bar here, and then of course the gold has the smallest bar. Now you can refine it, so you get them all intact, but you can refine it to exceptional, and you can see how those bars change. All of a sudden the bronze bar shrinks, and the silver and the gold, they extend, and as you go up, the bronze shrinks more and the silver and the gold extend more. So you're more likely to get the silver and the gold as you refine it. Now, you require a resource, and the resource are void traces. You can only hold a certain number of void traces, and that's tied to something else, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And you can only get void traces by doing void fissures. And void fissures are how you open the void relics. So we'll go over your navigation, we'll look at void fissure. Let's see. Let's do an exterminate. And then you can pick a relic, or if you just want to get void traces, you can just pick no relic. So we'll pick this one, and it's fine the way it is, intact. And we'll get matchmaking, so we'll be matched with up to 3 other people. Now, what changes about these engrams or relics is that, okay, well, let's go through the whole thing first. Now, the missions are what they are. Whatever it happens to be. Exterminate means you kill a certain number of enemies and then you're done. During any void fissure mission, you have to get reactant. The reactant will open or help to open the relic. You need to get 10 reactant, and those drop from enemies, but only enemies that have been affected by the void fissure. They will say corrupted. They'll be a little bit fuzzy when you look at them. I don't say, kind of like staticky. And you see on the left-hand side it says how many reactant you have and how many enemies are killed, have been killed, and how many you still need to kill, or out of how many, I should say. There we go. Now I've gotten all the reactants, so now we just have to finish the objective for the activity that we're doing, and then we're done. I'll grab one of the other weapons for the next mission just so you can see something different than a flamethrower. I do enjoy the flamethrower though. Now, like other missions, you can still get resources, much like Destiny. There are resources, there are planetary resources that you can find on planets, and some planets overlap. Unlike Destiny, you have rarity associated with planetary resources, so instead of only having one resource, you have 3 or 4 resources, and those resources have a rarity associated with them. So when you pick up a resource like this 16 rubido, you know it's relatively common. If you get something that pops up as a picture on the bottom left, like the cubic diodes, you know that that is rare, because it wants to draw attention to the fact that, hey, this is rare. We're almost to the exit. Now the difference between, I was going to say, engrams in Destiny and relics is that when you're done, you get to choose from everyone's relic that opened at the end. So you say, oh, maybe you don't want the one that you got, maybe you want something that someone else has. I want the one that I have because it's a silver, even though I already own it. And we'll go back to that in just a second. Now, if you notice, it says Equinox Prime Neuroptics Blueprint. Huh, how about that? I did the most damage. Now, you have different versions of Warframes. Not only are there a lot of different Warframes, but there are 2 main versions of a Warframe. There is the regular version and the Prime version. See, thanks for matchmaking. I'm out. Alright, so we'll look at making a Warframe, first of all. Oh, had something ready to go. And another one. So whenever you make something, especially a Warframe has 4 components to it. All Warframes. You have the chassis, which you can think of as the armor. Then you have the neuroptics, which is kind of like your link to your Warframe. And then the systems, which is kind of like all the electrical going to all the different components. And the blueprint. So you have to have all 4 items. You have to have the blueprint, you have to have neuroptics, chassis, and systems, and all of those require resources. If you don't have the resources, you obviously can't make it. There's usually credits, and then different resources, and the different amounts kind of tells you how rare the resource is. Gallium, much more rare than alloy plate or polymer bundle. Now the difference between a prime and a normal is that the prime normally has higher base stats. So when we're looking at, I don't think I have the same setup for these guys, but so I don't think it's a fair assessment. But just as an example, this Frost, which is the regular, he's got 300 armor, 300 energy, 740 health, and
Operator, are you
870
enjoying the
shield.
view?
A little bit slow, 0.95 for sprint speed, and then 100, 100, 145, 130. Whereas the Frost Prime has 630 armor, 400 energy, 420 health, 1225 shield. The sprint speed is the same, and then 100, 130, 145, 130. And of course, they look visually different. Now, all of the Warframes you can customize. They have different skins, cosmetics, which you can get for Platinum, which is the premium currency. So credits are the in-game currency, and then you have Platinum, which is the premium currency. And they do start you off with some starter Platinum, which is usable. I would highly recommend that you use your Platinum and save it for extra weapon slots and Warframe slots. So although you can use it, I would recommend using it for slots and just use it as you need it, not at the beginning. Alright, so appearance, they start off looking a certain way. However, that happens to be primes tend to be kind of silver and gold and white, or what I would say silver, gold, and white. You have different helmets. The primes come with the prime helmet, and then you have different helmets that you can get. If you have the normal one, you have the normal helmet, and you can look to see how each of the different helmets look. And then of course there are ones that you can get for premium currency. Alright. And that kind of goes into the skin. The skins just will make it look drastically different than what it normally would. Animations, it's just kind of how you hold yourself. So you have, say, Noble. And then you have, oops, Agile. Different things you can add to it, different attachments. Ephemera is kind of like the trail you leave behind you as you're running around. Nice. Okay. And we'll do a harmony ribbon there. So as you're going along, you can think of it as bling on your Warframe. Now colors, they're all based on color palettes. You get certain color palettes to start, and then other ones will cost platinum. So if there is a color palette that you really like, you know, you obviously can get that. I think you start off with this one, and there are certain ones that you can get for credits. And if you're not really sure what you want, you can just randomize it and say, oh, this is not for the... Let me go back to default. In addition, you have, before I get to the colors, let me do this first. Different capes that you can have. So depending on, you know, the look that you want, you can go with different things. And again, there are some that you can earn by doing different activities, and then there's ones that you can get for platinum. I kind of like this one. Kind of goes with the whole streamline, or this one. Maybe that one. Colors, of course, you can change. Oops. I didn't choose that one, did I? There we go. Okay. Let me go back to color. If you're not sure, you can just randomize it until something comes up that pops at you and speaks to you and says, oh, I like how that looks. There we go. And then if you say, I like all these colors, but you want to change one, you can. If you want to revert it back to default, you can do that. Energy... I think I want to do maybe a red. Alright, and then we can go back and say copy the main colors. There we go. So then everything matches. If you don't want it to match, obviously you don't have to. Attachments. And copy. Oops. So it's whatever you want to do. Now, like Destiny, there is a power system, and you say, well, how do I get my power? You get your power mainly from your mastery ranking. So mastery rank goes from 1 to 30, and you gain mastery rank by using weapons and warframes and companions and leveling them up. When you get to max rank on any of them, as you go up, you get mastery experience, and then as you get to the next level, there is a test, and then they say, congratulations, you're at the next level. I'm gonna go ahead and switch back, or switch to another guy. Well, let's switch to this guy. We'll do a different guy, and I did say I'd switch my weapons, so let's switch weapons. We'll do this shotgun, this Arca Plasmor. Both using... Oh. So I need to...
Well put together,
speaking of
operator. Now get out there
mods.
Cut down the...
and make the Lotus proud.
Mods come in different rarities as well. Like I said, the changes, I'll look at my Warframe because that's probably a little bit easier to look at. Different rarities. They do have polarities. Now the polarities don't say what frames that you have to put it on, but rather where they will be most useful. So you see the little symbol here in the right, top right. It's got like a little swoosh, or almost like a triangle or arc or dash, and a number beside it. The number responds to, or corresponds to, the amount of energy required on your warframe or weapon, and that's right over here. And if you have a polarized slot or polarity, it'll show right here in the upper corner like that. So if you put a something that doesn't match polarity, it'll show when you pick it up, and you'll say, oh, it's not gonna, well, it's not gonna work because I already have something that does the same thing. But if you put the wrong polarity in, we'll put a small one in There we go. No, that's a... There we go. You look at it, and it says 3, even though it said 2 down here, because the polarity is different, and that is why. But if you match polarities, it requires less energy, or takes up less capacity. So it actually makes some sense. So this one's 13, but because the polarity matches, it's only 7. Rounded up, of course. Lots and lots of different mods, and of course you have to get these different mods. You have to earn them. Some of them, these bronze ones, are very easy to get. Silver ones, you know, less likely to get. Gold ones are harder to get. And then these primed versions, you have to get in very special ways, because they are kind of looked at as the pinnacle mod. And the mods have, at the bottom, you see the little dots. And some of them are glowing, some of them are not. Maybe it's completely glowing or not. So when you look at, let's see, we're going to go back. I don't know if I want it to auto-resolve. And now I have to go and look to see and make sure that the ones I have here are the ones that I want. Yes, yes. Okay, good. So that's where it wants to be, but now I need to upgrade this one. So you can have any number of mods on any other weapon, so you can reuse mods, but you can't use them at the same time. So if you have a shotgun and your companion is using a shotgun, you'll have to have separate mods for each one. So in some instances you may want 2 mods. Alright, so looking at mods. We'll look at this metal fiber, because that's... actually, let's look at... Let's look at vitality, because I think... I hope... Alright, so this is for the companion. Enhanced vitality. Vitality for the Warframe. Vitality. And flawed. So when you first start playing, you'll have this... You'll more likely get this flawed version, which will help you out. It'll still help you out, because when we look at it, we're looking at the drain or capacity is 2, and it gives you an extra 30% health. You can upgrade it. As you upgrade it, the boost goes up 30 to 60, but the drain goes up from 2 to 3. And then again, goes up another 30% and another 1 and another 30%. So at max rank for this flawed version, you get an extra 120% health, but it requires an extra 5 capacity. And in order to upgrade it, of course, you need resources. You need endo and credits. We're going to cancel that. We're going to grab one of the regular ones, one that hasn't been upgraded yet. And we're going to say fuse. Starts off the same, drain of 2, but the percentage is higher. Instead of 30, it's 40%. And of course, you've got a higher rank or max rank. So as we go up, we see drain goes up and percentage of health goes up as well, 40% each time. And then of course the cost will increase as well as you go up in ranks. So to get to max rank from the base level, you'll need 10,230 endo, 494,000 credits, but it'll take your health percentage from an extra 40% to an extra 440%, but you will need an extra 12 capacity on your Warframe. Yeah, and then you have this Umbral Vitality, which gives you health, but also gives you Tau resistance. So you'll have things that do two things at once, which necessarily, or not necessarily, will maybe not help you as much in one, but it gives you more than one from one mod.
Your collection of mods is impressive, Operator.
Alright.
I wonder if there are more to be had.
So extra mods, because you will get extra mods. You can see in the top left corner how many mods here. So let's say 62, you want to get rid of these extras. You can sell them for credits, or you can turn them into endo. So all these extra mods that are hanging around, you can get rid of. If you need credits, you can sell them for credits. If you need endo to upgrade other mods, then you can do that. Obviously, the lower rarity won't give you as much as the higher rarity, and of course, the more you sell, the more you'll get. And you say, well, what about this over here? You'll be able to start getting and earning Ayatan treasures. There are missions that have Ayatan treasures as a reward, and then other ones that will have an Ayatan treasure just lying around if you can find it. Now, all Ayatan treasures come like this, and then you can install these stars. These stars you can get from missions. And it also tells you the value in endo of each sculpture. So as you get extra sculptures, you can change them in for endo. And of course, these stars also power these sculptures as well, making them very aesthetically pleasing, and you can use them as decorations. So that's a sculpture up there, there's one over there, there's one there, there's one down there, and one over here. Alright, so mods are very important and can greatly change how your Warframe or your weapon works. So looking at the upgrades on my Vauban Prime, additionally you have this slot which is called an aura slot, and that will increase the amount of total capacity that you have on your Warframe. Matching polarity, it'll double it, and if you don't match it, then it'll have it. So this one's a 7, so it'll add 14 because the polarity matches. If it did not match, then it would be half that, or 3. So because you want to get extra, of course it makes sense to have the polarity match. And then you see rank bonuses. Warframes, as they go up, you have access to more abilities. You start off with only one ability, and then by the time you get to level 10, you have all your abilities. But once you get to 30, these abilities level up as you go up in rankings. In addition to that, as you rank up, you get extra bonuses here as well. So you could get extra energy, health, shield, sprint speed, maybe you get extra armor, and that is just based on whatever Warframe you're using. So some Warframes are more tanky, some are more of a damage dealer, some are casters. You get the idea. And of course you can further mod into those certain things by adding extra shields, extra health, shields and health, and then of course things like ability range, ability strength, ability duration, and energy. Did I have another? I'm missing something. Oh, a steel fiber probably. Let's see, I should have another steel fiber here. That probably isn't. There it is. And we'll upgrade that a little bit. Oh, no, not a flawed one. Should be a, let's see, where is the regular steel fiber? Should be another one. I'll have to look now. Redirection, steel fiber. There we go, that's better. 4. And then we'll upgrade that. Obviously, when you start getting primes, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. I'm looking at that. Now we have 0 capacity left. And we have an extra 60 armor. And as I said before, armor is reduces the amount of damage before your shields or health take the damage. This slot here is what's called an Exilus adapter. You can only use Exilus mods. So any of these mods can be used. But because, of course, you have to have capacity. Alright, so we have our frame, we have our weapons, and we're good to go. So now the primed versions of Warframes and weapons you can only get from relics. So you gotta get those relics. And there's plenty of places online that you can see where you can get certain relics. There was something I was... Okay, here we go. Companions. I talked a little bit about companions. Those also have prime versions of most of them. And depending on what you have or what you get, they have different abilities. So, like the carrier increases ammo capacity by 25% and converts ammo pickups into ammo for equipped weapons after 2 seconds. So using carrier, you're less likely to run out of ammo. And then you look at Death Cube, and we'll look at just a couple more. Guardian boosts owner's shield by 100% when it runs out. That's okay. This one, Swift Death. Sentinel will attack the first visible enemy within 17.5. So this one is a very offensive companion. And we'll look at Helios. And Helios has Investigator, which will scan objects and enemies within 50 meters over 2 seconds. This is, of course, upgraded. This consumes Codex scanner charges. So, just starting out, having Helios is going to be really great because that will fill out your Codex. Going back to the Codex, We'll go back to companions in just a second. Fills out these factions and tells you everything about the faction once you've scanned them, or scanned enough of them. 30 scans. Tells you what they're weak against, what they're strong against, what faction they belong to, where you can find them, how they attack, and then what drops they have and the rarities associated with them. So all the enemies you can scan, and once you scan them, then you can see their weaknesses, their strengths. If they have any. And that one was not filled out, so I don't have a whole lot of information. As you get more scans, you get more information. Once it's completed, you get this little symbol in the top right. And then you have all the information you can get. So, different versions, what they're strong against, what they're weak against, where you find them, slow but powerful, and what they drop. Lots of different enemies, different factions, Corpus, Grenier, and Infested. You can look at different mods, and it'll tell you where they drop. So if there's a mod that you do not have, then you can say, how do I get that? Oh, I need a relic. I need to get it from this enemy or these enemies. Or certain missions, certain nodes. So there are a lot of different mods that you can get. And that lets you personalize your weapons and your Warframes to your style. So if you want a tankier build, well, you're probably going to play a tankier Warframe. But even if you play one that's not as tanky, you can boost up the tankiness of your Warframe.
Acts of defiance.
Alright, what was I going to do? Oh, wait. I was going to go back to companions before I go any further. In addition to your robotic companions, you can also have cats and dogs, I would say. So you have this incubator, and the dogs, which are called Kubros, they hatch from eggs. Cats are created from their genetic code, which you have to scan feral Kavats to have your own. And of course they can be used in battles just like your robot companions. You can only have one out of stasis at a time, which makes sense. Their DNA does degrade over time, and you'll need to use methods in order to bring them back. Alright, so here we go. Bring one of the Kubro out. As you can see, I have a Kubro egg, so I can create another Kubro. And there we go. You can interact with your companions, which will affect loyalty, in the Kubro, not in the Kavats. And of course, they have their own mods as well. So when you're looking at your companions, oops. So we say equip Kubro. You can change the appearance, change the mods. You have specific mods, and you have different varieties, I would say, or different species maybe of Kubro, so different types. Just remember that your companions can be damaged when you're out on missions. Kubro and Kavats can be incapacitated, and you have a chance to revive them. And they could, they could go down on your mission, and you'll have to deal with the repercussion of that. They'll still be around, but I think their loyalty, or I don't remember, their DNA takes a hit. Alright, now like Destiny, there is a...
Still breathing mine!
Oh, look at that, shotgun only. That works.
This is unacceptable!
Sorties, which I would say are similar to Nightfall, except it is in 3 parts, so 3 missions, and then you get something from this reward table. You have the rarities, you have bronze, silver, gold, and then this kind of like exotic. There really aren't exotics in Warframe, but this is, the best drop that you can get. So we'll go through and just show you. As you go through, you see the level goes up 50 to 60, 65 to 80, 80 to 100. Oh, power. In terms of power, your that's what I was going to talk about. Your power, mastery rank adds power because it helps your mod capacity for your weapons in your Warframe as you go up. So when you're at 1, you'll start off even at the base level for your where's my, okay, here we go, unranked Warframe, which is base level. Even that has higher capacity because it would normally only have 1 capacity per level. So when you get to rank 1, mastery rank 1, you start off with a capacity of 1, and it goes all the way up to rank 30, which is the maximum rank for almost everything, and then you would have a capacity of 30. In terms of power, that is how you gain power. As you use a weapon or Warframe, you get extra mod capacity, which will increase your power. Warframes also have access to more abilities, and then you get bonuses as you rank up. More energy, more armor, more health, etc. And of course, you'll feel more powerful because of that, but additionally, you'll have higher mod capacity, which will help you as well. Mastery rank, because my mastery rank is 20, even an unranked weapon or Warframe will start off with 20. Now, I will have to wait until level 21 before I gain any additional ones. So instead of kind of boosting ahead by 20, you basically have no worse than a level 20. Although, as you can tell here, I don't have the abilities associated with a rank 20 Warframe or the bonuses to energy and armor and health. So this is the baseline for this Warframe with no mods, but it still has extra capacity, and that's what Master Rank will help you with. So that gives you a little bit of a boost. So increasing your mastery rank is going to help you out. Additionally, you can increase your power on Warframes by adding an Orokin reactor. This will double the amount of mods that you get per rank. And then, of course, this Aura slot adds an extra 14. So instead of 30, we have 60 because of the reactor, and then an extra 14, so 74, 60 plus 14. So we have much higher capacity because of that. Additionally, you can squeeze out extra capacity by polarizing these slots. Some do come. This is the regular Vauban Prime polarization. So these are automatically polarized like this. But you can add extra polarizations by using a forma. And then instead of requiring 14 capacity for this, it only requires 7. So if I put this polarization, this symbol, in this slot, steel fiber, instead of taking 10, will only require 5. So you can squeeze out a little bit more power by polarizing. You can double the power by putting a reactor on Warframes, and then weapons. Melee weapons work a little bit differently, but we'll look at this one. You have polarizations, which help squeeze out a little extra power, an extra 7 capacity, and then of course an Orokin catalyst will double the mod capacity. So instead of 30, we have 60. So that is going to make your weapons or Warframe feel much more powerful, because you'll be able to add that much more in terms of mods and capacity. Alright, Sortie. Sortie is kind of like the Nightfall, but you can do it once per day, and it resets towards the middle of my day, I would say. It's another 2 hours before it resets. Some have specific requirements. Like this one is shotgun only. This one has an energy reduction, so you can't use abilities as often. And then this one has sniper only. And you have different things that it could be. You could have radiation hazard. There will be areas that have radiation, and you take more damage. And of course, it tells you what type of missions they are. Let's go over the missions real quickly here, just so you have an idea. Missions, here we go. So you have assassination, which is kind of a high value target situation. You have a boss, you have to work your way to the boss, and then the boss has some sort of boss mechanic to it where you have to shoot a certain area or do a specific action in order to make them vulnerable. Capture, there is one enemy marked on the map, so you always know that you're going towards them. You have to damage him until he has no health left. He'll drop down on his knee, and then you capture him. Defense, you'll have to stay in one section, one room, and protect an object or person. Object obviously won't be going anywhere. Person could be move around. Excavation, you have drills that come down that need power, so you have to get power cells off of enemies to power these drills. And this is also the only way that you can get cryotic, which is a resource. Oh, I was going to talk about resources a little bit as well. Exterminate, we already went through that. That's kill a certain number of enemies based off of how many players are playing. Hijack, you'll go to a point. You'll take over a, usually it's a roller, a vehicle. You have to power the vehicle with your shields and then get it to the extraction. Hive sabotage is very specific, or sometimes just called hive. It's an infested level where you have to have find these hive nodes and keep them from spreading to other areas of the galaxy. And you have to find what will make these nodes vulnerable. So you can't just go to them and destroy them. You have to go find their weak points, take those out, and then they become vulnerable, and then you take them out. Once you do all three, then you're done. Interception, there's 4 plates that you have to capture. Enemy can recapture them, so you have to kind of safeguard those 4 areas. And you have to do it for a certain number of waves. Invasions, I'll look at those specifically. Mobile defense, similar to defense, but you have a key that you load into a computer, go to an area, you have to wait there for a certain amount of time, so it's similar to defense, but then you have to move on to the next area. Rescue, you have person of interest in a prison. Yeah, let me check the... Thanks for letting me know. Let me check the options. I'm sure I have the volume set a little bit too high for, let's see, chat interface, audio. There we go. Let's turn the music down. There we go. That's better. Turn the speech down. Ortis, we don't need to hear him. Chat notifications, that should be okay. There we go. Appreciate that. And so someone's in prison and you have to get them out. If you trigger the alarm once you get close to the detention area, then it times down to when they take them out. So you have to save them, get them back out without them going down. Sabotage, you have an area that you have to go to and do certain actions, take it out, and then go back. Spy, you have to go to computers without being detected and retrieve information from those computers. Survival, we just saw. Annihilation, Team Annihilation, Lunaro, those are all PvP. So yes, whether you're interested in PvE or PvP, you can do either one. So Conclave is the Crucible equivalent, and there are different modes that you can play. A Rumble style, Annihilation, Team Annihilation, Capture, and then Lunaro, which is almost like a sport. You basically have a ball, you can hold it for a certain amount of time, you can shoot it to score, it has an arc to it, or you can pass it. The ball, I believe, blows up after a certain amount of time. Alright, so based on the type of mission, it'll make it... you at least know what you're doing. Now, because this one is on the plains of Eidolon, it's going to be more like a bounty. or how the bounties work here, so we'll get to see that as well. So this is, sorties are, like I said, they're kind of like nightfalls, except they're daily, not weekly, and it's more of a pinnacle type activity like that. I'm not going to say it's the most difficult activity, but it is more difficult because as you go through the 3 different missions, they do get a little bit more difficult. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Seriously, it's not.
Intel indicates the enemy has dropped a supply caches nearby. If you are able to accept this mission, travel to the waypoint and recover supplies before our enemies.
So we have to find caches here before the time runs out. We get a bonus if we find all of them with 5 minutes remaining. There we go, got them all.
The enemy has a heavy guard around one of their mobile.
Nice, I'm glad someone's using that guy. 250 I have on energy. Find the armored vault.
The vault's armor is too strong for your weapons to penetrate. I will hack it, but first I need a data map of the guards.
Turrets. Fun. Let's see. There we go. Push that over.
They dropped the data map. Grab it. Good. Now insert the data map into the console. If they destroy the console, you'll never get the vault.
There we go. Got these grenades that do different things. But it's pretty fun. Flechette orbs are kind of like a grenade that throws out spears. Excuse me. Free roam has, at least on planes, have areas that you can get extra ammo, which is nice. It still feels a little bit. That is just a fun ability, well, and it's pretty useful. It's more fun when there are walls around. You see the guys getting pinned to a wall from those flechette orbs. Like a jungle gym. Only sticky. There we go, we got it.
These resources will be supremely useful to our cause. We don't have an enemy drone has crashed in
Alright,
I need you to escort it to safety.
400.
Waypoint to accept this mission.
Oop, someone's
The
already
drone
there.
is nearby. Find it and
Drone.
hack it.
Hack the drone. There we go. There's the drone. Ah.
That's it. drone is
Alright,
under
now
our
we just have
control.
to protect the drone.
Escort it to the extraction point before the enemy can destroy it. They're sending another wave to defend the drone.
He's shooting.
Stay
I don't know
vigilant.
if it's one of our guys or... Oh, there we go. We got guys up in the sky. Oops, getting behind. Ah, for crying out loud. That's not switch it back. There are different like grenades that you can use. One of them is a boost for you
More
and
linear
your
inbound.
nice
Let them harm the drone.
allies. Kind of like a speed plate turbo. Okay, and we got it.
Its systems immediately.
So even though that was only the first mission, we still have, you know, rewards, credits, and whatever from doing different missions. Depending on what the mission is, you could get more or less. Like interceptions. And even though it is considered a higher difficulty mission, there is still matchmaking. And that's one thing that you'll notice. There's a lot of matchmaking. There's only a couple of activities that do not have it. So looking at this one, we have defection with energy reduction. Yeah, I can use the same guy. There are a few guys that work really well with certain activities, and then some that work well, pretty well across the board, and some that work not as well. I don't want to say there's some frames that don't work well at all, but I think that as you play and your play style will determine which ones that you end up choosing. There we go. That might help as well.
The scattered survivors of this infestation have
Alright,
barricaded
so
themselves
this
in
one,
safe
of course.
areas throughout this area. Escort the crew to
Actually,
the
this probably
radio
wasn't the
station.
best weapon to use, but
Don't be alarmed by the team. They're Grenier defectors, rescued by Steel Meridian, too broken to join their ranks. Instead, they've banded
It'll still
together
work.
in search of a peaceful life. They call themselves Four. I've located the survivors. Find them and escort them to
infested are a
the
little bit more
transport.
resilient to
The infestation
this
is
type of
airborne and
damage.
it's slowly killing the crew. Boosters scattered
Let's
throughout the
see,
ship
we
are
have to
only
rescue
hopeful.
5. There we go. These things can be powered. Infested, they're kind of like the Zerg of Warframe world. There's a lot of them, and they're pretty gross. Get this over, power up this thing. Oh, they're coming this way, aren't they? Okay.
Let the survivors know, ready to keep moving.
Not enough energy. Where's the fourth guy? Oh, there he is. Okay. We got it. So all four of these guys are considered one squad. So we have to do that 4 more times.
There's another group of survivors looking for an
Each
escort.
one that dies counts as one,
A
though.
group of
So
crew members has reached the transport.
ooh, we're going to B already. Okay.
What I found. The Carrefour.
Oh, that's right. It has. We have energy reduction. I forgot. So because your fourth ability is your usually most costly one, energy reduction pretty much keeps you from using it. Having the maximum amount of energy because of mods will help you. I don't know why they're sitting there waiting for him. Ah. Yeah, my lord. Reload! Move out. Let's go. Where the heck are you going? Alright, I think they're good. So we got A, B, and C that they could come to, and they can have up to 2 of them, I think, at a time. Oh, there we go. 2 of them are popping up this time. Grab one of these. Pick it up.
Scanning for
Let's
more
go.
survivors. Crew members, keep it up.
Let's get over here, get to this, and get ready to go. Oh, traps. I hate traps. Alright, where is the... There it is. Let's go. Take that. Get a little break in the action. That's a good time to reload. Alright, where are they coming from? Oh, they're there.
Too loud. Too many noises.
Alright. I hope someone got the other ones. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, looks like someone got the other one. Well, most of the other ones.
Magic.
3, 4, there we go. Put a orb down here.
Ram infested Sakat.
There we go. Yeah, like I said, this wasn't the best weapon to use primary. Alright, so this will be 3, 4. So we'll just need one more. Alright, start moving. Start moving, guys. We gotta get back.
More survivors. Survivors have just reached the safety of our
And
transport.
that C doesn't have any energy, health, whatever to give to the guys, so... Well, he's already over there. I'm gonna go to B then. Someone's over there at C already. Now things like efficiency, of course, come in handy in levels like this because you have less total energy. Ping! There you go. Pinned up against the wall. Now you can have a certain number that die along the way, but only 6. So 5 squads of 4, or 20. Let's go. Oh, you got me? Oh, and I don't have any energy. Oh, they must have leached it out. Well, I guess it's good that we're almost done. I could dump some extra energy here. There we go. Come on, where you at? Not sure why you're taking the long road, but whatever. Let's see, hopefully it auto completes. So we might have to extract. This will actually be 6 squads rescued if we get them all. Yep, we got them all.
All crew members
Yep,
accounted for.
to extraction.
Time to go.
There we go. Met the objective. Now we just have to get the heck out of here. Oh, did we only have 3 people? Well, sure felt like there were 4 people there. Alright, so that was the second mission, and we're on to the third mission, and then we'll see what we get as a drop. Oh, this one you have to have a sniper. Snipers only. Go switch this out to a sniper rifle. And we're going to switch this guy out.
Operator, you have remembered well how the Tenno arm themselves.
Alright, of course, mobile defense means we'll have to pick up a data key, go to different terminals, stay at the terminal for a while, and then move on. Where are we supposed to be going? So I went and matched him with someone else that was already playing. Just started because they haven't gotten anything done.
From enemy sensors.
They just got taken out real quick. Now this, of course, is the highest difficulty level, so
Here is a terminal.
of course it's going to be a little bit harder than the rest of it.
I'm in. This will take a moment.
Of course, having a sniper rifle is not a bad thing either. Boy, this works out pretty well for me. 6 seconds left on the freeze. So I basically created a bubble, and then two abilities. So one ability that puts up a bubble. Anything outside the bubble can't affect anything inside the bubble. And the second ability, any of the enemies that came into the bubble would be frozen. There we go. Left. Ooh, this is okay. Like a toxic cloud when he dies. Does a lot of damage. You guys need to run. So Limbo, you can also kind of go to this alternate
Upload me and prepare to defend.
range, whatever you want to call it.
I'm in, Tenno. This will take a moment.
Here they come. Why? Why? This is Chakalaka.
Still working on it. Continue.
Oh, that might actually be a pet. Yeah, that's a pet. flat. There we go. Good timing. You want to go out the bubble. Go right ahead. Alright, let's keep on rolling. You can tell people that are experienced or less experienced by the weapons and the frames that they use. When you're stuck with a certain frame, then yeah.
Drop me in and defend our position.
Stuck with a certain weapon or frame, then yeah. But if you're not, I don't think there's any that you're stuck with a frame. But weapons like shotguns, sniper rifles, pistols, bows, etc. I mean, that much you can understand. But frames, I mean, maybe you have a certain frame, sure. But you know when you're doing a pinnacle activity that you're gonna need certain things. It's the same way in Destiny. It's the same way here. 30 seconds left, then we can get to the exit. Ooh, getting low on. Well, I guess it's good. We're almost done. Low on energy. 20 seconds, and then we're done. Five seconds. Alright, let's get out of here.
Mission complete.
See what we got for doing this sortie. Oops. Protect our exfil. There we go. Alright, and we got Ayatan Sculpture. Hooray. Hooray. Which of course was the bronze tier. Now, if you're doing a certain mission that does not have matchmaking, or if you're trying to get a certain prime piece, you can certainly go to, instead of an LFG, you go to recruiting tab and say what you're doing, or look for someone else that's doing the same thing. But that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.